Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Inspired Life Vancouver. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. It's been such an honor to bring amazing Vancouver locals here and have these conversations that hopefully leave you feeling inspired and motivated to follow your dreams. I know I've been feeling totally inspired, and joining me today is someone whose bio, whose resume, it just is endless. Professional athlete, motivational speaker, keynote speaker. He was with the Canadian Football League,
Yes.
BC Lions. You know him from the Tommy Europe show. What was
The last 10 pounds.
The
boot
last
camp.
10 pounds boot camp. He's a best-selling author and a dad.
Yes.
Tommy Europe, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining. I know you're super busy. When I was reading, I'm like, wow, thanks for making time for us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now, what an amazing body of work. But with everyone who comes on the show, I like to start from the beginning to talk about how you got started. I remember meeting you like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a
when
while.
I was 2. Joking.
Back then, yes.
Yes.
I think I was 14.
I remember meeting you back then, and you were training, and you were, I think this is just before you were launching your TV show, and I remember going to Chapters and seeing your book and your face everywhere, and I would turn on the television, I'd be getting my nails done, and you would be leading these brides into getting into the best shape of their lives.
Jumping over your seat with, give me the last 10 pounds.
All these, it's really inspiring to see how you've grown and to see how you've branded yourself, which is also very authentic, to who you are, your passion for fitness and sport and also self-care. So let's back up and talk about how you became a professional athlete.
Well, growing up as a kid, everybody wants to play professional sports. For me, initially, it was hockey, believe it or not, as a goalie. And then as I started getting older and got introduced to fitness and things like that, I started playing football. And the more that I played, the more I enjoyed it. I really saw a future in it for myself. And to get to where I wanted to get to, I knew I had to get stronger, get bigger, get stronger, get faster. And that was my entry into working out. So in the 11th grade, I believe. Yeah, 11th grade, I started working out. Initially, obviously, to put size on for football and things like that. And that kind of started the ball rolling on just health and fitness in general for me.
And were you here in Vancouver?
Toronto.
In Toronto, okay. And then later on with BC Lions.
Yeah, Toronto. I went to university. I went to Bishop's University, which is in Lennoxville, Quebec, just on that Quebec-Vermont border. And then in 1993, I was drafted by the BC Lions, and that kind of kick-started everything into, fitness, film, and yeah, those were the starting points for sure.
I find it fascinating because I don't think many athletes do what you have been able to accomplish or have this brand that, going from television shows to becoming a keynote speaker to having this best-selling book, and now you're, a stunt actor.
Yep.
Did you always have this vision of, okay, Tommy Europe is going to be, I remember receiving your emails, and like on Facebook, I would see your Facebook page and I could see your passion, for helping others, and your passion for sharing that information with people. And I don't think many people are able to like translate from like, okay, I'm just gonna, once I stop being an athlete, I'm gonna focus on this.
Yeah, it falls in the lines of similar to how me and you were talking a little bit earlier, and just, okay, what's next? And for me, it's always been about putting myself in the best position to succeed. So when I was playing football, obviously I was working out the entire time in off season and things like that. And training was very an integral part of getting me to playing professional football. And so I always look at that as my baseline and, what I will fall back to. The passion of it, obviously, I like seeing people improve. I like seeing people get better. I like people seeing themselves completely shocked when they surpass what they initially thought was, their limits. And I think a lot of people, they kind of set these low limits for fear of, okay, well, if I don't get it, well, if you don't make it, who cares? Set your goals, go forward, and that's kind of how the mindset that I've carried forward. So football, yes, that was definitely in the plan from a very early age, but from fitness to film to speaking to writing a book, that kind of came as a process of just kind of going forward. Different opportunities would pop up. Obviously meeting people is a very big part of what's happening. Funny story for the last 10 pounds boot camp. I think I was training for probably 2 or 3 years. And, through different connections of people that I knew, the production company was looking for, they had auditions for the last 10 pounds boot camp. I didn't know about them, didn't hear about them, knew nothing about it. And then Tamara Taggart actually.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
She was, because I think she did Love It or List It with the production company. And I'd just seen her literally a week prior at a social gathering. And she said, have you seen Tommy Europe yet? I said, no, we haven't. So they called me up and, they told me a little bit the show and they wanted to kind of audition me. I said, okay, you're going to need a subject. And then I actually brought Nadine, who ended up being the nutritionist on the show. And that's how that kind of started. It was nothing, again, that I planned for. I just kind of went with it and I got to be myself. It was reality television. So working with people, challenging people, pushing people, which, I'm good at. And it's something that's definitely in my wheelhouse. And yeah, I got picked up for that show there. And then after the first season, they're like, what do you think about a show about, brides, Tommy? We're going to call it Bulging Brides. I'm like, let's do it.
I love that. And it's like even one of my best friends is getting married and she was like on this mission to get fit before it's 2 weeks, her wedding is in 2 weeks. And I know she's a very disciplined person, but I know not many people are. For me, when we've been filming the show, I just feel even though we have just a day of filming, the pre and post and everything else in life, my fitness has, even though my weights are sitting right there, you can see outside.
I can see the dumbbells over
the
there.
5 and 10 pounds right over there. But it's just every day I write down, I'm going to work out. This is going to be a thing. And I know that that's something that helps change my mindset. But I forget to do it. I forget to, for me, it's just been walking lately with Loki. But I find walking to be such a thing, a meditation. It's very calming. I'm getting out of the house. What sort of tips would you give to someone who's a busybody like myself, or someone whose schedule is maybe even busier than mine, like a mom or full-time mom, stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, you have to take time for yourself, and you've got to put yourself in that position of putting yourself first. We all know, okay, we shouldn't eat that, we shouldn't do this. I see the dentist twice a year, and the hygienist is in my mouth. So have you been flossing? As my mouth is full of blood. I'm like, well, what do you think? And then it wasn't until I actually had a client who was a dental hygienist, and she was talking about flossing. And I know this is a bit off topic, but it's one of those things that she's like, well, think of your teeth as like a fence. If you don't floss, the ground gets shaky, your teeth are going to get loose, they're going to fall out. And it was from her telling me that got me into that idea of, okay, regular flossing. So when it comes to people who say they're too busy to exercise, you spoke about walking.
Yeah.
Walking is probably the most underrated thing that anybody and everybody, most people can do, most people that can walk. So yeah, just get out, start walking. Maybe there's some hills around, maybe I'll walk a little bit faster between light posts. And then, from there, okay, I can jog, or I can run, or I can hike. So there's lots of different, levels that people can go to. You don't have to start here. Start small. Start with something that's, manageable.
That's, Tommy, the big thing is, you see social media, you see everyone, summer body, and for me, I even look at my body, before I got my dog, I was super, I would do these, from my home, I'd walk to, Third Beach and back. with my cup of coffee, I'm listening to a podcast or talking to a friend in Europe, and time just goes and it's meditative. I'm getting fresh air, and afterwards I'm super invigorated. I'd come home, I'd do my weight training, and then boom, and then having a dog, like you would think you're getting more activity, but because he's still a puppy, it's the emotional, because he's like pulling me,
Yep.
and it's sometimes I love walking with him, but and then I realized, like, little by little, my own training, and I can see that I know I'm healthy, but for myself, I'm aware, like, as someone in her 40s, on my grandmother's side, like, there's arthritis, there's osteoarthritis, and like bone loss and all that kind of stuff. So for someone like me, weight training is just something that is like super, super important.
Weight training is important for everybody. And it doesn't mean you have to, throw around these big heavy weights. You can do stuff with dumbbells, with bands,
Yeah.
body weight exercises. When I was doing the last 10 pounds boot camp, a spin off of that for myself personally, when in between hiatuses, because obviously it was shown coast to coast. So I started doing my shred boot camps, where I went coast to coast, right through Canada, and I'd get venues and I'd music, and would sell tickets and the merch and things like that. But it was a big workout, but a big celebration type workout, and just kind of gets people going. And it was all body weight, because obviously you have all the different fitness levels, and people were shocked that you can get such a great workout just doing body weight exercises.
Yeah.
So the gambit is huge as to what you can do, but as I said, and as we've been talking about, start off slow and then gradually move your way up.
Yeah.
Some days you're going to feel great, take advantage of that extra energy, push yourself a little bit more. Some days you might not feel as great, stick to a walk, stick to something like that. You were talking about the mental side of it as well. Physical fitness is amazing for your mental health. If you're having a bad day, you go for a walk, you're gonna feel much, much better.
And even it helps when you have a dog, because even when I really don't want to, like, there's been days, like tough days, and I feel like now, especially since COVID, everyone's talking about mental health. And the dog population downtown Vancouver has really quadrupled. But rain or shine, good day, bad day, like, doesn't matter how I'm feeling, I have to walk my dog. And sometimes even if it's like around the block, even if I'm just doing that, when I do that, it shifts. Something shifts inside of me. I trick my mind to be like, okay, we're gonna just do a little bit of upper body. It'll be just like 5 minutes. But like, actually, to be quite honest, for the last couple of weeks, I haven't even done that. But I trick myself. We're only gonna do this for like 10 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about your career, because I honestly find it so inspiring, like what you've been able to accomplish. Now you're focusing on being a stunt actor and a fitness coach,
Yes.
but you're not just like fitness coach down the road. You're like this professional athlete who's had television shows, best-selling books. You're very passionate about men's health. What do you think, over the last several decades, like, what do you think fuels your fire to create and do the work that you've done, from the TV shows to the books? What keeps you going? Like, what inspires you?
I get bored easily. So if I'm doing the same thing all the time, I won't get inspired, I won't be motivated. So for me, it's always, okay, what can I do here, or what can I do there? Everything I've done, they piggyback off of each other. So obviously playing professional football, and I was training, and then transitioning into personal training and fitness coach, working with different people, working with different groups, doing group fitness. Everything kind of spirals off of the next. So even though they're completely different things, I'm from football to fitness to stunts. They each give me something. For film, obviously, as a stunt performer, highly focused job, highly intense job. You're not doing crazy things all the time, but
I know the pictures you sent me. I'm like, Tommy, send me pictures where I can recognize you. It's like it's burning. You're wearing, this
yeah.
makeup. This.
So it's all different, and you're pulling aspects of my athletic background. So sometimes you're flipping, you're falling, you're on we call it ratchets, where you're on a wire, where you're getting pulled, one way or another, forwards, backwards. So for me, it's all about getting myself mentally and physically prepared, so that stunts are, very rarely, unless you're on a show or on a movie, okay, in 6 weeks you're going to have this big stunt, so you're rehearsing the whole time. But because we do so much television here in Vancouver, sometimes like, hey, you available on Friday? It's like Wednesday. Yep. Okay, you're going to be doing a 20-foot ratchet. Okay, sounds good. And then so you have to be ready.
And you have to be constantly keeping your body
Correct.
and mind and everything.
Correct.
You're so calm. Like just like sitting next to him, you're so zen.
I'm a Leo.
You're
I'm a Leo. You're a Leo too.
I'm Leo too. It's like, you're calm, and then when you have to pounce, you pounce. I honestly, like I've known you like on and off over the years, but it's like I remember I met you, like I'd been in Canada for just a couple of years, and I was remembering sitting down by Starbucks, grabbing some coffee. I don't even remember how we met, but just to see, I always look at people who have had these long careers and who do different things. You're going from being a professional athlete to writing books, TV shows, and really creating this brand. So I think that really requires a vision, a focus, and determination.
100%.
Tell me about that.
Visualization is huge, and obviously playing sports for me and playing football, that was definitely, it taught me what you had to do to be successful. So for instance, and for those that don't visualize, I would highly recommend doing it. It's basically putting your mind in a place where you're seeing something before it happens. We do it with stunts all the time. With football, it'd be like, okay, you're going through the game films and things like that. And then you'll get to a point in the visualization where something in the game will happen, and it could be in a complete intense time, but you've seen it. So I've already, from watching film and practicing, I've already seen it. So now I'm not even thinking, I'm just reacting. And that's when you're making big plays, and things will happen that way. Stunts are the same things. Like, oh, aren't you afraid of, like, you're not thinking, all I'm thinking of, I have to do this, I have to land over there, I have to hit the person here, I have to watch out for that obstacle or that obstacle. So it's all done, because in the moment, you're just reacting. It's just too late to think about it. And that's where visualization, I think, really helps you out.
Can you dig deep into that?
Yep.
So do you start off with like meditation? So for example, for me, I'm challenging myself. I'm not a Zen master, but every day I try to increase the time. So today it was like 7 minutes. We've been at 7 minutes for a few days.
Yeah.
But just breathing, and sometimes I think of like what I'm grateful for, and then from the gratitude energy, I look into what I would like and seeing myself there. How do you visualize, and how did you visualize when you were a professional athlete to now versus stunts?
As a pro athlete, it kind of be like this. I'm watching film and I'm seeing certain routes, certain plays. I'm like, okay, if I see this, I have to really jump it and attack the ball, to make a play. So you're visualizing, if I see this, this is going to happen. If I see this, this is going to happen. And the visualization, you're always seeing yourself successful. So you're never failing. It's all positive. And it's like, okay, it's here. So that when in a game, when something happens, you see it, you react. And that's where the visualization kind of works there. With stunts, it's the same kind of thing. And yes, I do meditate. I meditate daily. So I'll get myself in a nice calm place with the stunts. And stunts, you've been in sets before. So again, stunts, you never know when you know what you're doing. You just don't know when you're going to be doing it. So you could be literally sitting around for hours on end, just in the back or whatever. And then like, okay, stunts, let's go. And then now it's time. So,
there's no room to hyperventilate.
Zero.
Where's the bucket?
Zero. But all that work is done. So it's like, so it's ready. We get set up, and then a couple of deep breaths, kind of get yourself calm again, and get yourself in your body, and then you just go with whatever you've been rehearsing, whatever you've been practicing. You're visualizing, seeing yourself successful in certain things, and a way that I know that I've done my work very, very well is when I can't even remember what I did. So you'll do a stunt or something, or it's a fight, and then you're going through it, and you can't even. It's done. You can't remember exactly what you did, which means that you were in the moment, you're in your body, you're doing your things, and obviously, you're hearing the feedback from directors and stunt coordinators, and the other performers and actors that are there. But that lets me know that I was in the right place.
You're present. You're in the flow.
Correct.
You're not in here.
Correct.
That's beautiful. Did this come naturally to you is my next question. And also, I think I would like to know for myself, and as well as perhaps for the audience, is do voices of fear try to enter, or you've trained yourself that they don't enter, or when they do enter, what do you do?
I squash them. So anything negative that comes in, I squash it. Even if I hear anything, I'll just go away from whoever is saying what or whatever. But in your mind, anytime anything negative comes in, just squash it right away. I don't give it any credence. I don't give it any time. I don't have time for it. My thing is focusing on, okay, I've got to get there, or I've got to do that, or I've got to be here at this particular moment. Because especially in film, when you're working with stunts and the choreography with different performers, sometimes it's not just you. Sometimes you have to be in the right spot for somebody else, which kind of catapults you into the next move of the sequence. So it's all positive, and I'm sure we get some things. Sometimes you have some doubts that might creep in, but I never let them get settled.
And it sounds like that's been one of the secret sauces of your success.
100%.
While doing this show, I realized, and anytime I've done a show, which I've done like a few now, or I wrote a book as a ghostwriter while living in Paris, I realized I have to become like this.
Yeah.
And while doing this show, I had the same feeling, because there were some like outside voices and whatever drama or whatever that may be. I realized I need to step away from that and need my focus to become, and sometimes it can come across as like you may be being selfish, or you don't have time for this person. But when you need to go from A to X or Z, I feel like that is, has that been your experience, that you're like, okay, if I want to create this book and I want this to be a bestseller, what is your process? Like, how do you achieve that? Like, who are you spending time with? Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you getting in the zone? Because like when I listen to people like Tony Robbins or Napoleon Hill or Oprah or anyone, I think, who has achieved and especially gone from like coming from like nothing to becoming somebody, whatever that means, they really talk about who are the 5 people you're spending time with. Are they building you up or pulling you down?
Correct.
And if they're not, then you surround yourself with the books, the audiobooks, and with the people's energies who are like, you are limitless.
Yep.
Like, how do you feed yourself? And I want to know about, because I think a lot of this is that inner mindset. Like, the external success, the fitness and everything is secondary. Like, the game is the mindset.
Yeah, the mindset is huge, and you definitely have to surround yourself with people who are gonna work on your vision with you, and people that you can either lean on or pull information from, or that are gonna be genuinely interested in seeing you succeed. Because a lot of people aren't, and you will find that out over time, and it's just kind of limiting your time around those people. I think the older that I get, you start to X more people out, just because they don't feed in. They're not into your vision. They're not they're not adding anything beneficial, whether it's information or trying to detract you from things. When I was I can remember in grade 12 or grade 13. Yeah, I'm going to play professional. You're not going to play professional football. Yeah, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. When I was personal training, oh, I'm gonna be a personal trainer. What are you gonna be a personal trainer for? You can't make any money personal training. You're just gonna be a broke ass personal trainer. So, I guess that's gonna be a beep.
Okay, 25-minute mark. So
That
let's
was a
do
quote.
that
That was
again.
a quote unquote. That was a quote unquote. When it came to being a personal trainer, there were people that doubted, okay, how are you going to be successful as a personal trainer? And then with the book, you've never written a book before. How are you going to write a book?
You're an athlete. You're a trainer.
Yeah. And then with stunts, it's like you're not going to do that. You can't do that. That's impossible. So those are the type of things that I don't let creep in. You will have your doubters. You will have your detractors. Don't spend time with them. Spend time on the people that are going to put you in that right place. People that are going to encourage you, support you, and then ultimately it does ultimately come down to you and into your mindset. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the plan. And we spoke basically, said how did it all start? It all starts with a plan. Okay, I'm going to do this, and this. I'm going to do the first part of it by such and such a date. I'm going to incorporate working with this person or that person. And then the next phase of it, I'm going to introduce this person or this activity. So it's constantly building your plan and allowing for variance of opportunities that maybe you didn't see when you started the process initially, but like, oh, that's happening over here or that's happening over there. So you have your plan, but you can adjust and you can kind of be organic with it, and everything kind of falls into place over time. But again, it's putting in the work, and ultimately, regardless whether it's something fitness related, or professional related, if you really want something, you have to give into the process. You have to actually believe that you can achieve it, and then go about busting your butt so that you can put yourself in the best position to be successful. And I think for me, that's what I've always tried to do. Put myself in the best position, see different opportunities that may pop up. With stunts, a lot of the times when you're going on sets and you say you're going to be falling in a fight or something, you're looking for all the hazards. You're getting, whether there's glass or rocks, you're going to, move stuff out of the way. So you know what the playing space is, and that's the first step, getting yourself ready. Then kind of walking through the beats of the choreo, and we call it just kind of Tai Chi, and we'll count beats. So in a fight, you might have, 10 to 20 beats of the fight, and a beat would be like 1, 2, 3, then I get a hit 4, 5, 6. So that's how we kind of do it that way. So I kind of do that in my head, do it with my eyes closed, do it over and over and over again. And this is part of the visualization as well, so that on the day, when they say action, you just react. You're not thinking about, okay, I got to do this move. That part's, it's already done. It's already ingrained. And then you just move on and move forward. And that's how I've kind of created my process anyway. When it comes to stunts and football, fitness is just something that it's part of my lifeline. So fitness is just constantly pushing the pace. Okay, how can I improve? How can I be better? When it comes to coaching other people and coaching whatever their needs are, how can I make them better? And I like to give a lot of different examples when I work with people that they can, be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can do that.
I feel like with training, you were saying this earlier, that with a lot of the clients that you worked with, people's goals were like here, and then you're helping them elevate to up here. I feel like that's completely like mindset too. It's like I remember like not being able to do a push-up like at all. And for a movie, like I was training as an actor, and like when we would train, like my trainer would be, we wanted to just keep me in the character, and we built my upper body because the character was, she was stronger and everything. We would just talk to me like my character.
Yep.
And at the end of like a month or whatever, and it's like I was like doing these push-ups and I was doing this thing because I was not even listening to that voice. I can't do a push-up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That must be truly rewarding when you can help, shape people's bodies, but not just that, but their own expectations of what they can achieve, and the wow feeling that they would get afterwards, because that's such a natural high. It's such a wow, I didn't think I could do that, and now
Yeah.
look at me, and I'm stronger, and I'm going to keep going. And all of a sudden you have more energy, your eyes are more open, the whites of your eyes are white,
Yeah.
you're just sparkly. You're just, without doing 10 shots of coffee. I have an espresso machine here. It's like in between. I'm always like
Yeah.
shots of coffee. That must be truly rewarding. Like, how does that feel for you?
It's very rewarding. When I think back to the show, The Last 10 Pounds Boot Camp, and we'd have we'd have a half midpoint weigh-in, 2 weeks in, then 4 weeks in would be the final weigh-in. And obviously during that month period of time, I'm with each participant through that entire time, so I know what they're doing. But it's amazing when you go back and even off camera when we're talking to the participants, and they think of that journey, 4 to 6 weeks of everything they've been through, and the doubt that they had initially, and then at some point in the process, they see themselves improving, they feel better, they feel stronger, and then now they're starting to actually believe what they're telling themselves, and that's what it's all about. And it's so rewarding when you can just give everything into the process, and then you get that success, or you get that revelation at the end of everything you've been through. And it's a parable of going forward. So now that when you do have those tough periods of time, you can always think back, well, I did this when I thought I couldn't do it, and I did it anyway, and just give yourself into it. And when I'm training people, I'll flick them if they say I can't. Okay, we're gonna do this. I can't. Right? Just to take it out of your head, because when you're saying I can't, mentally, what you've just done, you've shut yourself down. So when they say I can't, I'll switch to something else, because I know they're not going to do it now, because you just told yourself you can't do it.
Yeah.
So chances of success after that are very, very slim. So you really have to rewire yourself, like, I can do this, I can do this. I can remember playing games, in CFL, and it'd be a 10 spot in the game, and I was playing defense. So you have and I'd be walking around in between plays. Okay, I'm gonna make a big play. 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 This is the time. So I'm just arming myself with constant positive. Or you're dead tired. Like, I'm not tired. I'm not tired. I'm not tired. You're not tired. You're not tired. And it seems trivial, but in the moment when you do that, I'm arming myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's go. Shoot, throw it to my guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be making this play. And that's the kind of mindset that you have to have. And it's cool when you see just everyday people doing that mind shift, where it's just kind of like, and when you see it and they get it, and you see that look on their face, and that just stand a little bit taller and just brighter, and it's pretty amazing to see.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I heard a couple of months ago, actually, on TikTok, to not just listen to affirmations, but record them in your own voice.
Yep.
So I've been doing affirmations or listening to them on and off for several years. But it's I'm very fascinated by hypnotherapy, hypnosis, power of the subconscious mind. I worked with a coach who was a hypnotherapist after my first show, Life and Style with Zara, because I had the big wow, everything's great, and then after the show was done, I was going through a tough time personally, and I started working with him, and he would pretty much the same as you're saying, is using your words so a couple of nights ago I re-recorded some affirmations that I listened to in the evening and first thing in the morning, and not turning my phone on, keeping my phone on airplane mode, and just listening to this in my own voice. And emotional energy things, in terms of I'm energetic, I'm very creative, ideas come to me left, right, and center around abundance, and also the type of life that I want. I wish, like I learned this in high school. I hope, it sounds like you're probably teaching this to your daughters, but it's something so subtle. But I find for me, like a lot of times it's like that inner critic voice can go on, or the voice of the critic that is inside that would be like, oh, what are they going to say? Like, who is they? Like, who are they? Even something as like sharing content on social media. I remember speaking to Fiona Forbes, fantastic local host, award-winning television host and media personality. And she said to me something happened after turning 40. She's like, the F it button, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, whether they like it or not. It does not really matter. And I think the more like this, I need to just keep going towards like, this is the goal where I'm going to go, which for me right now, the next thing after we're done the show is like Paris. Okay, we're aligning the brands, who I'm going to work with, what's going to happen, and taking the steps. But I truly believe it's the mindset.
It's a huge mindset switch, and a lot of people can't get past the noise.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be noise around, whether it's coming from the externally, other people, or yourself. There are a lot of successful athletes, that have that negative self-talk the entire time. They're afraid of failing, which is what's pushing them. But what you'll find with those individuals, once they do achieve the success, they're not happy. Because they did it because it was more of a fear of failure thing, so they can't even appreciate what they've done because of all that negative self-talk that they have. So I just find that once you quiet those voices, and you set the bar high, set the bar high for whatever you're doing, and then give everything you have into the process. Because sometimes you only have one chance. If you're lucky, you might get two.
Yeah.
But it's just continuing to kind of go on. And, as you were saying, for, jumping from this thing to that thing, I always look at it as, a transition. And things reveal themselves when you're ready to see them. So I always try and put myself in a situation of, okay, now I'm going to do this, or I'm going to evolve into this, or I'm going to spin off into that. Just to kind of, for me, it keeps life interesting, keeps things moving along.
You need a next book, which is going to be all about mindset.
I'm writing another book right now.
Well, this is why I contacted you. We must have been connected on the subconscious mind. I can literally picture you right now talking to your daughters about this stuff, because I think if you're ingrained with this mindset at a younger age, I really admire athletes, dancers, musicians, like people, like everyone who's been doing their craft for like a decade or two or more, because you're not just like one season, one hit wonder.
No.
You're keeping that pace, the momentum for the marathon. It's not that sprint. It is the long game.
I think that's what people don't realize, though. It's, regardless of what you do, if you get some success, even if you do it for 5 to 10 years, which is long, but in the big scope of things, it's not that long.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, you keep doing this and you're so grounded, and it's like kind of like, all right, I'm on to the next thing already. I've kind of done that. Now I'm going to be moving over here, and I've kind of focused my energies that way, so that you're always working towards something. Life is always interesting, and things happen. When it comes to fitness, the older you get, yes, you will have more ailments and things like that. So, everyone's, oh, it's too late for me. I'm like, it's only too late when the decision is out of your hands. So your goal is to make sure that decision is always in your hands when it comes to your health and things like that. And whatever you have to do to get healthier, to get stronger, not just physically, but mentally, it makes the biggest difference in the world. And it's what's going to catapult you into what's next. And what's next might be something, again, it might not even entered your headspace. When I was playing towards the end of my career, when I was training in Vancouver, there's a bunch of stunt performers that I ended up becoming friends with. One of them is my best friend from Toronto. Trevor Jones. He was the Grizz.
It sounds
the
familiar.
Grizzlies were here.
Yeah.
And then, I'd hear about stunts, and I'm like, you guys are nuts, man. There's no way. So this is what I was saying when I was playing football. And then as I started getting into it and knowing more about it and training, my idea of the stuntman was, a kamikaze crazy person that's, jumping into this or jumping into that. But there's so much thought that goes into everything that you're doing. And, with film, sometimes you do it once, but many times, especially in a big fight sequence, you could be doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you have to make it look the same. Mm-hmm. So it's just getting that repetition in, and just being ready for, as you said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah. Now let's talk about some of the projects you worked on in film as a stunt actor, because we've been talking a lot about your career as a professional athlete, and then a fitness coach, and then the TV shows and the book. Afterwards, I'm going to dig into this next book. I'm very fascinated by that. Deadpool 2, Fire Country.
Yep.
Like, pretty much, I was checking out your IMDb. It's pretty much all the local shows you worked on them. Tell us about some memorable days. like some days that you're like, that really stands out.
Some of the, obviously when you have big gags, that's what we call them on stunts, and they go well, and obviously you walk out safe and sound, hopefully. You definitely have that euphoric type of feeling, endorphins are rushing through your body, adrenaline's rushing through your body. I doubled Mahershala Ali. He's an Oscar winner as well.
Oh.
On a show called Alcatraz.
Yes.
And the whole sequence, basically, it was a fight scene in jail, and then there was he got out, and then there's a big chase scene that we did. And then I can remember the stunt coordinator was Melissa Stubbs. She was like, we did the fight scene and everything like that. We set everything up. Said, okay, tomorrow we're gonna do the thing with the truck, and I'll see you here at 10 o'clock. I was like, all right. So I went home, and I, got kind of like this, wasn't thinking anything of it at all. Had a good night's sleep. Then I, get there the next day, pre-call. So we're there, and then I see this semi truck. So I'm like this, and one of the drivers, Jeff Sanka, he's one of the top drivers in the world, really. And I see him there, and I'm like, so what's going on? Because I didn't even ask what's going on. It's okay, the truck's gonna be going, you're gonna be, there's a big chase scene, jumping over stuff. And it culminates with me, with the truck going, and I'm getting chased by an FBI agent. So I roll under the truck. So she told me it was gonna happen. I was just kind of like.
And the truck is moving?
The truck's moving. So I'm like, all right. So now in my mind.
And you had no idea before showing up? Okay.
No. But Mel's legendary. And it was the best thing. I told her after too. I go, that was the best thing that you did for me, because she didn't tell me. If she would have told me the night before, I wouldn't have slept. And I can remember there was a crew guy that was there. Like when we did the first rehearsal, I wanted to see the truck go. Then we had the truck still, and then I was rolling under it without it moving, just so I knew how I was going to do it.
Space and everything.
And I can remember this crew guy was like, "You're gonna roll under the moving truck? Are you crazy?" And then Mel was like, "Get out of here!"
Oh, good for her. Good for her. You don't need that energy.
Yeah, well, she's a performer. She was a performer as well, and one of the best. So that whole so now I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just thinking about this truck, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got 2.5 seconds, and my only fail-safe when we did the gag was, if you don't feel it, don't do it. Like if it doesn't feel right, because there's no.
She said that to you.
Yeah, the truck's going. Truck can't stop. So it was, and that was probably one of the ones where.
And you got your kids to get home too.
I think we had, I just had one kid at the time. So we did it.
Did you text your wife? You're like,
no. No. Everything was about, as
just
we said,
this.
Everything was this. It was that moment. Okay, I've got to do this, got to do this. I can remember I did the whole thing, the run, the jump, truck's going, it hits the point that I kind of mapped out. And then it was just like, all right, do it. Oh, yeah, that was great. We're gonna do one more. Like, all right. So I'm still in the pocket, still not thinking about anything else. And then the second one is even better. But I can remember after that, just the way that I felt, that's literally the probably the closest. That every stunt, you can get hurt pretty bad if things go wrong. But that was the one where obviously if things went wrong, things would be really wrong. So at the end of that, I can remember I was like this, and then when I came home, I was like, kind of sat back and thought about it, and then I was just kind of like, grateful and happy, and just that whole mind preparation. If that hadn't been something of, a part of what I'd done for pretty much everything, that would have been next to impossible to conquer. So that's definitely one of them that stands out.
Everything you're mentioning today, it reminds me of what a professional tennis player, I think there were stats about his heartbeat that he would, I think it was Jean Borg.
Yvonne,
It was,
Borg?
was it Jean, was he Swedish, blonde, or Yvonne Borg?
Yvonne
Okay.
Borg, yeah.
That in the 70s, I believe, that his heartbeat, like they measured him, like they wired him up and everything, would be so calm when he is playing the match, because he's brought his nervous system to this place
Correct.
of this calm energy. And then I think in the 90s, in my teenage years growing up in Pakistan, I was super into tennis. And we had, without saying any names, like, all these athletes who would be swearing and this and that. And then, they would talk about like the ones from the 70s and 80s where what kind of sport it was, and how this guy, he kept his nerves at this very calm level. So even when he was winning, whether he was winning or losing, he was just
Stay consistent, yeah.
yeah, in that state. I mean, I definitely admire that, because I would not, that is not me.
Well, you're in
I
a
aim-
flow state. You're definitely in a flow state. I can imagine a tennis match.
Yeah.
You're here. I've been on set, so I know the similar feeling where all eyes, everything's on you.
Yeah.
Football,
And your
same thing.
heart
Everything's on you.
so you probably have that from being an athlete, then
Yeah.
going on television, and then
So
now
it's all
this.
the same, because
Yeah.
there's times in games, that I have people, hey, what's it like when, like, aren't you nervous? Like when everybody's yelling and the crowd's going wild? I said, when the game's on the line, like, what's that like? I'm like, it's great. I'm like, what do you hear? Nothing. It's silent.
It's so in here.
It's silent, and everything is in slow motion. And you're in a flow state. So now you're seeing things and you're reacting. And then once you make the play, it's almost like you're, in a quiet room, and then they turn the volume up when you hear the cheers and everything after. Then you're kind of, it's like, oh, all right, cool. And then you move on to the next thing. And that same thing for stunts.
And do you feel like meditation is something that's truly helped with that a lot?
It's helped with everything. It's helped with just my general everyday demeanor, just kind of calms me down. If I'm doing a speaking appearance, I've done hundreds of different keynote speeches over the years, from anywhere from I've spoke to 10 people, I've spoke to thousands of people. And it's the same, it's the exact same process. You kind of go in, you get in that right mind frame and headspace, and then you do your thing. It's almost like you're on. The lights are on, and then you're not thinking about what you're saying. You're giving the information, and everything is organic, and everything just kind of flows. And that's what I go for every performance, every talk, every stunt, and yeah, it just kind of that's part of what I do.
It almost sounds like channeling. I feel like
Yeah.
speaking is like that. People will often ask me to MC something and whatever, and say the same thing. Aren't you nervous? And you're gonna think I'm crazy. I don't do any prep because I know that it comes. And whenever I remember having this crowd of like 4,000 people, or I also did like Hot Solano, and the nerves will come in. Like I will start to get.
I'm always gonna get the nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always like a little bit, and then I always have a cup of coffee, right there, coffee and water, like just right now, and then it's like I can become rigid, or I'm gonna move, and when I'm on the stage, move on the body and act like the version of me who is so confident, and I'm bringing the crowd in, and that, which it sounds like it's the same when you're
Involved
on
yeah.
a show or as an athlete, but it requires so much of the connection to self too, I think, and breathing.
Yep, you gotta breathe.
The breath work is something I forget to do, but it's like, for me, I've talked on the show about like being anxious, and like 10 years ago I decided to like stop drinking or anything that was taking me out of my present reality, and a lot of actors have come on the show and talked about kind of the same process they went through, and how you do feel things more. You'll have like everything, all of a sudden you're feeling everything so much more, but you're also so much more present.
Correct.
And one of the things, like I ran into Erin Karplik the other day, she's like, for an hour and a half we talked, and she's like, you were right there. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how else to be, but to be there listening, not just to your words, but like everything that you're giving me, and to pick up what is in between, in the gap. What do you tell your daughters? Like, I'm sure to be a dad of 2 girls, what advice do you give to your daughters?
Just confidence, the confidence part of it, and just encouraging them to give everything. Well, I can do this. I'm like, and I'm always like, whatever you guys choose to do, if you give everything into it, you're going to be successful. You're going to be successful, and just kind of showing, the mental strength and the mind games. And yeah, you're going to get into my oldest daughter, she runs track, and she gets nervous, and I can see it in her. I'm like, hey, relax. You've done the work. You've done the work. Go in there, listen to the blocks, get nice and relaxed, get loose, and then you go. And then good. And it just kind of puts her in a place, because I've been there. I know what it's like. I know when the nerves are jumping up all around, and and just kind of like, oh, I don't want to be last in my heat. I'm like, run your race. Don't forget about everybody else. Look at the finish line, and we'll watch people that are running, and you see what they're doing. They're trying to see where. Doesn't matter where everybody else. Run your race. That's the only thing I want you looking at is that finish line, and then kind of puts her in that place. And my youngest daughter, she does Taekwondo as well.
Oh wow!
So when she's getting ready for her tests and things like that, I'll go through it with her, and I'm like, okay, how many beats are there? So I do it like stunts. Okay, there's 20 beats. So so go do it. I'll make her do it a few times, and she's looking at the video and stuff. I said, okay, now do it slow motion with your eyes closed, and I just make her count out the beats so she gets it.
So then it's in your body. So even when your nerves are up,
because
this is already in your physical body.
Correct. Correct. It's got to be in your body.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever you do, when a situation happens, you're gonna fall to the level of your training. So when people bring bear spray for walks and stuff like that, and I'll see it and I'll be like, you're never gonna pull that out. You're never gonna pull that out. Or if somebody comes with me, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, no, you're not. And I'll scare my kids. They'll be around the corner. I go, it's probably around then when you're gonna choke me and slap me and kick me, and you know what I mean? You're gonna fall to the level of your training.
Yeah.
So I put myself in the best possible position. So, when I'm teaching, she's doing all the different moves. She feels it. She knows. And then she'll start to do it, and she'll be like, she'll mess it up. And I know I'm like that in stunts too, because you're doing your beats, and you're going from slower and constantly speeding it up, different levels, because you're working with other people as well. So you want to put yourself, again, in the best possible, situation. And then, they're going to be nervous. I go, yeah, you're going to be nervous, but you're going to do your best. And my thing for them, have fun in doing what you're doing. Be confident. Don't worry about anybody else. And, my thing with them is, as long as you give everything you have and don't hold anything in the tank, I don't care, what place you come in. If you come in last and you give your best, I'm happy that you gave your best. But if you don't give your best because either you're not winning or you don't think, then that's a problem. And thankfully, that hasn't happened. And just continuing to push them along. I call it the shred mentality: strength, heart, resilience, efficiency, and discipline.
I didn't know shred had.
Shred's an acronym. Shred's an acronym. And for the next book, it's the Shred Project, because those 5 elements are present in every single success story.
Okay, let's talk about the book, and I want you to go through the shred again so I can remember that.
So SHRED, the S is for strength,
Okay.
and the strength we're talking about is mental
Mental.
strength. Correct. Heart is all about giving everything you have. So regardless of whatever it is, give your best, regardless who's there. You know, we always talk about, what do you do when nobody's looking? How much do you give in when nobody's looking? Everybody's, you know, will do what they're supposed to do when people's eyes are on them. But when nobody's looking, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's for heart. Resilience, you know, it could happen quick. It might take a long time, might take a lifetime. It's about hanging in there for the long run.
Sorry to cut you off. This totally reminds me of this little video that's going a little bit viral on Instagram. So many people have posted it with Kerry Washington. And she talks about, you know, running to get the bus. Like, that's my bus. And I'm running to catch this bus. And even if I miss the bus, I ran for that bus. Another bus is going to come. But if I just lay back and be like, I don't know, I'm not going to catch the bus. The intention, the action wasn't there, because if you're like, I'm going to fail anyways.
They don't give anything into it.
Yeah.
They've already lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, the resilience, again, it's overcoming the obstacles, and sometimes the obstacles are the actual path. So that you have to, it's like, oh, and then you're in it, but you wouldn't know that unless you actually persevered and kept on going. Efficiency, finding easier ways and more efficient ways to do things. So sometimes talk about habit formation and building better habits. And then ultimately, the D is for discipline, and which is a supporting base of the SHRED mentality, because you're not always going to be motivated to do anything. Sometimes you might be, but most times you won't be. But if you have discipline, you're going to do whatever it is that you have to do to complete whatever task you want to complete to reach whatever goal it is.
I love that. I feel like I love the fact that since COVID, like, everyone's talking about self-care, and not just physical, but the internal. You know, people are more openly talking about seeing a therapist, like looking at the past, looking at patterns, like what is holding us back. And I think that, you know, whether you're a top athlete or an actor or stunt actor or in school, it all comes down to that self-belief. Like, you know, what are your beliefs? Like, is there a past conditioning, mindset conditioning holding you back? How can we review that? How can we move forward? And I think that's what I admire so much about, like, you know, whether someone's a violinist or an athlete like yourself, or actors who've had success, that how you keep going. And, you know, and with a lot of those people, I've found focus.
It's a complete focus.
Yeah, focus, and then also
Focus and
the
belief.
tribe. You know, it's like, it's very, yeah, like vision, like, and something you mentioned earlier, have fun.
Gotta have fun.
Gotta.
You know, and especially
Because it
like,
can feel like
well,
all
no, but
serious, but
especially
it's
for my
like,
kids, right?
yeah.
It's like, I want you to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's a sport. It's, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Be successful. That way, you're going to get the most out of the experience.
Tell us a bit more about the book.
Still in the process.
So it's the SHRED
Yeah,
mindset.
The SHRED project.
Okay,
so
the SHRED project.
And basically, it's dealing with, you know, obviously a lot of the mental, physical portion as well, and just kind of I'm doing it over like a 5-year period. Going for people 40 and up. That's the demographic I'm looking to reach. Simply because for anyone in that demographic, they're either already set doing their things and looking for other ways to improve, or some people have thrown in the towel and, you know, just kind of, it's too late for me, or I can't do this, or I can't do that.
Something I heard from someone, like, I was in my early 30s or mid 30s, they're like, yeah, you're not a spring chicken no more. I'm like, huh? Like, speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, even right now, I went to see one of my agents over earlier this week, and I was talking about, like, roles in my age category, and she's like, Zara, yeah, but, like, you don't look like you're in your 40s. You know, and I think the whole idea of what that looks like if you admit that, okay, after this age, it's going to be like this, that's what you're going to get. You know, if I'm like I'll show up to I'll be doing a voice job and I just show up in t-shirt and shorts and whatever. Casting director for sure thought I was like in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna like.
I still reach for things that were, that are listed as 20s to early 30s.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to be 53 in a couple of weeks, so.
Yeah.
Black don't crack.
Yeah. Same with brown skin. No, that's amazing. And I think I knew that there was the reason inside of me, like every person who I brought on the show, like I've just listened to like the voice within of like who is the person I want to have a conversation with and understand how they live their life and how they've had their success, because I think selfishly it's for me but also for the audience, because I find that truly inspiring when I can have these conversations and talk to you about like where do you draw your inspiration from, or like what is your secret sauce, like what do you think has been the secret to your success?
Just don't stop. Keep on moving. And like for me, if you follow me on Instagram, one of the hashtags I use a lot is it's the Shred Wave Life. And obviously Shred, we've already gone over the acronym, but that's really what it's about. And it's okay, what's next? And it all falls, for me, it's all rinse and repeat. So I'll do the same process that I've done from football, for fitness, for stunts, and for whatever else is next.
Amazing. Were there any athletes in your family? Are you the first person to do what you're doing?
From the first, into my family, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one.
So there wasn't anyone that you're like, I'm going to be like my dad or my uncle or...
No, it was just, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be this. I'm going to create that. And that's kind of, I've been like that. I've always been driven towards stuff like that. I want to start playing hockey. I wanted to be the best goalie in the league. When I was playing, so I'd chart all the other goalies and their goals against average and things like that, so that it kind of, I'd go into games being like, all right, I'm gonna get shut out today, and I'd go in with that mentality, and that's just what I've always done.
That's amazing. Deadpool.
Yes.
Working with Ryan Reynolds. Tell us about that.
I mean, on set, I was on set with him, I think once or maybe twice, but you're not in that close proximity.
I know.
Depending on what you're
saying.
But
it was a big show that came to Vancouver.
Huge show, both of
like
them.
I remember, going Georgia Viaduct and all of that, like getting shut down. I was in Paris when it was Deadpool 2, and I would still see stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and it makes me feel proud. Like I call Vancouver my home. Even if I wasn't born here, or even if I'm like in a different country. And I was like, yes, that's filmed in Vancouver, and all these people no one knows.
There's actually lots of different features that I've been through Vancouver that people don't realize.
Yeah.
But again, it's every movie for me or every show for me, I enjoy it while I'm in there. I'm appreciative of it, of the experience, and then it's on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Because it's cyclical. So
you
can't always, and when you're saying like, what's next? What am I going to do next? It's like, you can't hang your hat
on like me. This is me.
Something you've done.
That's me. I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's
See, I'm having these conversations very selfishly as like coaching for me. I'm like, coach me, Tommy. Coach me on my mindset. I love that. What inspires you in life? The show is Inspired Life Vancouver. So what would you say, where would you say you draw your inspiration from?
My family. Definitely. Just, for me personally, just not ever wanting to settle for average. So I was looking for different things, but inspired, my wife works hard, my kids work hard, and, they're all good people. So seeing them succeed is one of, obviously my biggest goals. Going forward, with them being at an age right now where, growing up as a kid now is tough with social media and those type of pressures that we didn't have initially as, growing up. So just making sure that they, helping them navigate whatever needs to be done while they're doing it, just to make that transition a little bit more seamless. So that definitely inspires me. And just, yeah, just again, never settling for average, seeing what's next. I know there's more to the story for me, and you will hear it soon.
I love that. I love that. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation
Yeah,
today.
no, it's great.
Is there a particular spot in Vancouver that you like going to get inspired? I love asking this to everyone, whether it's a restaurant or a cafe or art gallery or
I'll do the seawall.
outdoors.
I'll do the seawall either on my bike or my rollerblades. And I always slap my man Harry Jerome. There's a Harry Jerome statue in Stanley Park. And you can look him up to see what he's all about. But that definitely inspires me every time I go through to kind of keep on going. And, you know, we're in the battle, so enjoy it.
Love that. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Thank
I
you.
honestly feel can talk to you for hours and really pick your brain, and very inspired by your success and everything that you've achieved and accomplished. And if you guys were inspired, make sure to get in touch. And Tommy, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much.